Hey guys, welcome to Jew Whiskey. I'm Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around at the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today we're looking at the Laphroaig 10 Sherry Oak Finish. Stick around. Alright, so it's Laphroaig today. We've got the 10-year-old Sherry Oak. This one is a big one. It's a popular one. It's been a huge hit among reviewers and the like. So I was excited to try this one. Even though Laphroaig and I haven't traditionally always gotten along. That's not to say I don't like them, I do, but it's been a rocky relationship. I think we're in a better place now, but it's complicated. But hopes are high for this one. It was such a phenomenon when it came out a couple years back. I think it was 2021, 2020 or 2021. One or the other. Yeah. Anyway, Laphroaig 10 Sherry Oak Finish. As the name suggests, it's a 10-year-old Laphroaig and it was finished in, well, now these guys do have a bunch of other sherry releases already on the market, the most celebrated of which is probably the Lore, which is still available on their website, but I never see it in shops these days, so I'm not sure what's up there. But yeah, we've got the Lore, we've got the 3-wood, we've got the PX, possibly more. I did no research. Our maturation here is Laphroaig matured in both bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks. Those are then married together and finished for another year in Oloroso sherry casks. So they're definitely not skimping on the sherry casks. We can expect probably something that's very cask driven. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Yes, too much sherry can occasionally overwhelm the base distillate, but let's look at our base distillate. This is Laphroaig. It is not going to be a shrinking violet. It is a powerful, punchy whiskey. So the odds that these two flavors are going to completely overwhelm each other are minimal. It's more just a matter of how well they work together. Anyway, as I said earlier, I'm generally a fan of Laphroaig, but not always. I did like the Lore, but I didn't like it as much as some people out there. Stuff like the PX and the 3-wood, didn't love those. I also occasionally have an issue with Laphroaig where I find it goes flat when it's exposed to too much oxygen or if the bottle's been open for too long. So yeah, I have a couple issues. We'll see if those come up with this one or if everything goes smoothly. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into our review. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Now, Laphroaig, frustratingly, does not release a lot of information when it comes to color or chill filtration. In terms of ABV, this comes in at 48%. Because it's 48%, I don't believe it to be chill filtered, although it might still be, and I do believe that it's colored. As far as presentation goes, this is pretty much just another Laphroaig bottle. They all kind of look the same. I'm sure it's iconic to some. It would depend who you ask. I don't find the look particularly interesting. I don't hate it either. There's something to be said for consistency, I suppose. For look, I'm going to give this 2.5 out of 5. As expected, they share absolutely nothing when it comes to color or chill filtration. We do get a blurb on the back. It talks a little bit about the Oloroso sherry cask, and it does give us some basic tasting notes. So for look, I think it's just kind of fine. In terms of information, definitely could be better. Overall, it's there. Okay, so I did add a splash of water here. On the nose, this is sweet sherry first and foremost, but we still also have plenty of peat in here too. I'm getting a lot of candied fruit, so I'm getting like cherries, maraschino cherries, candied strawberries, cherry tobacco, leather polish, bacon, resin, brine, grapefruit, and some eucalyptus. Nice nose. For our palate and finish, the texture here is okay. Immediately, our flavors are very big, very forward. I get a big smoky punch. In a lot of ways, this is a continuation of the nose. So I'm getting stuff like cherries, candied strawberries, leather. There's the classic Laphroaig medicine cabinet. There's some oak, lots of cola. There's pine, there's ham. There's dark chocolate, there's chili. Our finish is medium on smoked meats and sweet sherry. Okay, so I can see why a lot of people got really excited about this one. It does deliver on its promise. It is signature Laphroaig with sherry. The sherry is sweet and fruity. It's a candied fruitiness. I do feel like a lot of the more rugged elements in Laphroaig are kind of rounded off and tempered in this one, which, to be fair, I suppose you could say about a lot of modern Laphroaigs. But this one in particular, being so sherried, sherry tends to have that effect on whiskey, but it's not neutered. It's still big and it's still bold. But just being a little bit rounder and having that sherried sweetness, it does give it a slightly broader appeal as far as Laphroaig goes. So this is one that I think a lot of people who are just casual sippers of smoky whiskey can enjoy. Oppositely, we've got our 48%. It's still Laphroaig, so again, big and bold. So it's going to work for enthusiasts as well. So it walks that beautiful line where it really does cast a wide net, and a lot of people could get on board with this stuff. And really, there's not a lot of whiskeys that can do that, where they really do appeal to both sides, you know, your casual sippers and your hardcore enthusiasts. I do think this is one of them, and I do like the whiskey, although it's not perfect. This stuff is a little bit sweet for me. I tend to prefer whiskeys that have more delicacy, more nuance. Of course, peat and sherry are these big, dominant flavors, and this is Laphroaig. Laphroaig is a beast of a character, so this just ends up being a very loud whiskey instead of like a subtle or sophisticated whiskey. This is kind of where my snootiness starts to come out. Now, you could make the case that this style of whiskey is always going to be loud, and it's always going to have these very dominant, very forward flavors. Yeah, I think that's often true, but not always. Look at some of the better batches of Ardbeg Uigeadail, for example. At its best, we get a lot of smokiness, it's got a high ABV, but we also get some sort of nuance and subtlety in that interplay between the peat and the sherry, so it can be done. And if you're looking for that kind of like more sophisticated sherry peat combo, I wouldn't say that's this. Which is fine. Not every whiskey needs to be uber sophisticated. We don't need to drink everything with our monocles and top hats on. It's a style I prefer, but I like this too. Even though Laphroaig and I do have a rocky relationship, I still do like them. I've never found Laphroaig to be an especially sophisticated whiskey. It is often loud. I think this one is loud, but that's fine. I think our flavors are balanced. I do like the peat in here. I do like the sherry in here, even though it is a little bit sweet. I think our flavors are balanced. You can pull a lot of tasting notes out of this, so you could call it complex, and viscerally, it's enjoyable. Now, I'll admit I don't like this as much as a lot of other people out there, which is on brand for me. Laphroaig does have some better offerings. I prefer stuff like the cast strength, for example, but I do think it's better than most of their entry-level stuff or most of their widely available stuff. I think it is a strong Laphroaig. I'm going to land on 85 for this one. One thing to note is that I did like this more when I first popped it. Now it's 85. When I first popped it, I might have scored it something like 88. I found it much more vibrant, and that's an issue that I often have with Laphroaigs. Now, it happens to a lot of peated whiskeys, but for me, my experience with Laphroaig in particular, I find that it does not agree with oxygen or being open too long. I couldn't tell you how many Laphroaig bottles I liked at the beginning, and then it was just this curve of like, you know, this downward curve of enjoyment. They tend to go flat. I don't know if that's just me. Let me know if you've had similar experiences. Or actually, let's make that question a little bit broader. Whether it's Laphroaig, whether it's not Laphroaig, what peated whiskeys have you found suffered the most? It could be a particular bottle, a brand overall, but what peated whiskeys tend to go downhill quickly? What are some bottles you've just had bad experiences with? Anyway, let's get back on track. Yeah, 85 for this stuff. I think it's good whiskey. A lot of people out there like it more than I do. You might too. Definitely if you're a fan of Laphroaig, like I said. For me, it's kind of, it's a mixed bag with Laphroaig. If you're on board with a lot of their other stuff, I'm sure you'll like this one. Keep in mind, it is a little bit on the sweet side. But yeah, it's good. I think we're getting pretty good value on this one. We get an age statement, we get a good set of flavors, we get decent intensity with that higher ABV. Even though it's not my go-to style, I can still appreciate it, and I think it's a good buy for, what did I pay for this? About 80 American, just under 75 pounds. For that, I think it's worth it. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to help out the channel, I do have the Patreon. Otherwise, you can like, comment, subscribe. Always appreciate it. And of course, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Laphroaig 10 Sherry Oak Finish? What were your thoughts? Finally, down below in the comments, you can tell me what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.